Right, good evening everybody. Welcome to the Employment Committee. Item 1, announcements. We are being live streamed, and if everybody can make sure their phones are set to silent because it's good practice. I don't think there's anybody here who hasn't heard the fire evacuation procedure, so I won't repeat it. Item 2, apologies. I have apologies from Councillor Green, and Councillor Hammersley has kindly agreed to substitute for him. Item 3, minutes of the previous meeting held on 15th of March. I'm happy to move those from the chair. Is every member of the committee happy to accept those as a true and accurate record? Yep, I see everybody nodding, so I will sign those. And pass those to the officer. Thank you very much. Item 4, declarations of interest. Councillor Hammersley will refer to your general declarations, but does anybody have any declarations not printed in the agenda? Nope. In which case, item 5, public consultation. I'm not aware of anybody. Have we had any? No, no public consultation. In which case, item 6, HR policy documents. I will ask our Head of People and Culture, Ruth Bartlett, to present the report.
Thank you, Chair. So this report deals with the disciplinary policy and dismissal procedures and grievance policy and procedure. They are due their normal review, so that encompasses this, but in the main there's minor changes, but both have been updated to reflect the change in management structure and the revised delegations in terms of dismissal and sanctions for the assistant directors and the strategic directors. And then there's some changes, or clarification I would say rather than changes, on the disciplinary policy in relation to non-attendance, particularly at hearings. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Does any member have any comments, questions, or anything to say on this item? Councillor Hammersley?
Only really just a point on suspensions, page 20, and people's interpretation of gross misconduct, as in what it is, etc., etc. But I do notice farther through on pages 28 and 29 that it is fairly extensive with explanations of what is termed as gross misconduct, because always one's idea of what is may not be another's. So that's my only point on this document. It's well informed, and advice from ACAS as always, and I'm quite happy with what I've read. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. One observation, one question, and I think what I'm about to say applies equally to the following item. I said I'm really happy with these because these are very much in line with what I would expect, and I know from being at work outside of here that it's in a similar sort of vein. Could I just ask that where we refer to the fact that when we're having a formal process, it has to be concluded within an outlined time frame. That if there is to be an agreed delay to that the agreed delay, it's noted and recorded that there's been a delay and why. Because in the event of an appeal, I think sometimes that can be an issue that somebody has felt they've been put under stress or whatever because there's been delay to the process and it hasn't been properly explained to them, and it's not recorded why something has happened. And so I would just ask that we perhaps consider including something along those lines if we have got to delay the process for some reason. And there are valid reasons. People, can't be available to make meetings for particular times or holidays or whatever. But if it's going to step outside of the target dates, that it's recorded why. And the second thing, a question really, I take it that when we get into the area of formal proceedings, we have template correspondence that we send to people to make sure that everyone's treated equally and all letters and correspondence covers all of the statutory points that we need to cover. Because again, we don't want a situation where people claim they've been treated differently to somebody else. Is that the case?
Yes, so noted, we do already take notes of any mitigation or delays as well, and we record those. But in terms of our standard templates, they all adhere to ACAS code of practice. We ensure we give reasons for suspension, etc., or reasons that they're being interviewed for. So it's all, we have templates in HR.
Right, I just had one question, which was on page 22 of the agenda. Allegations against a trade union representative, and this is more just from my own understanding, really. The point is that if there's any kind of allegation or process involving a trade union rep, we are obliged to inform the union. My question was, is that our policy or is that statutory? Because my thinking is similar to Councillor Brown's sort of point, which is that obviously trade unions are there to represent people and help them out if they're in a bit of a jam. But we do have many staff who aren't members of unions, and while the option is open to them to request assistance as part of the process, the onus is on them to request it rather than us to call in the cavalry for them. So I just, in the interest of sort of equal treatment of employees, is that something we have to do or something we've chosen to do?
So I can confirm it's a statutory requirement under the Trade Relations Act. So it's not asking for representation for them, it's making their works convener or regional aware of an issue. But it's up to them still to find their own representation.
I had a feeling it might be, but I just thought I'd ask the question. Right, if nobody else has any other comments, I will move that from the chair. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Brown. All those in favour? That's unanimous. In which case, I will ask Ruth to present the second report.
Thank you, Chair. So this is the standard HR metrics data report that comes to the committee each month. Just details data as far as I'm able to provide, and any benchmarking data if available, which is still limited. On that note, I am working with West Midlands employers to try and establish a benchmarking group. And just to note, in terms of the recruitment information that's noted within Section 5, page 65 of the report, myself and the HR team have been working to develop a KPI for recruitment, which going forward will be able to capture the information where the lags are in terms of the process. So that will be reported to future employment committees. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ruth. Does anybody have any comments, questions, queries? Councillor Mrs. Tremors.
Thank you, and thank you for the data, Ruth. It's very useful. I'm pleased to hear about the development of a KPI in recruitment, because obviously that's quite a key issue to make sure that we're achieving what we want to achieve. It does appear to me that the number of applications appears to be on the whole slightly up, which is encouraging. We don't have it here, but do we record, or do we think it might be worth recording internal applicants or promotions from within our recruitment data?
So we don't ordinarily have an internal only recruitment process unless it's change management that applies, but we do obviously record who's appointed, when, so we can, as part of our KPI, we can include that as whether it's internal, because obviously that potentially creates another vacancy as well. So.
I had one on the same subject, actually, Ruth. Could we, for the next committee, I mean, you may already be factoring this into the KPI you were talking about. When it comes to recruitment, could we also have some data on the number of vacancies? Because we've got the number of adverts and the number of applications, but word has reached my ears that we might have quite a lot of vacancies in the council where we've not necessarily been proactive throughout the departments and across the piece in going through the recruitment process, whether that's your team hasn't been told about it or it's been lost under the paperwork. But that, to me, might show us where some of the problems in the process lie if we can see, the column for vacancies is a lot higher than the number of job adverts. Do you think we could include that next time?
Yeah, so in summary, our KPI data that we're capturing is the date of approval at management team, and then it goes through an internal process for redeployment, but it also gives the date of the information it's been sent to the manager to ask for the advert, and then the date we receive that advert back to post, and if we don't. So it will also show those lags and that timescale.
Thank you. It strikes me that we always talk about the gaps we have in the organisation, and it might be worth focusing on the process to fill them, as opposed to whether we get people applying once we have started the process to fill them. So thank you for that. Were there any other comments or questions on this? You look a good set of numbers. Right, in which case I think we can note those. Is the committee agreed with that? Right, that's unanimous. In which case, Ruth, could you present our final item, which is the work programme?
Thank you, Chair. So members may already note that this work programme has already changed, given that disciplinary and grievance policy have been presented today. This work programme was drafted based on early indications of the outcome of a HR audit that's ongoing at the moment. We haven't had that final report yet, so this may be subject to change. So clearly the disciplinary and grievance policies have come forward today. So it's proposed that the authorised leave and code of conduct, which code of conduct, just for information, is subject to audit and standards approval as well, I believe. So authorised leave policy and code of conduct will come forward in September. And also just to note, obviously we have the people strategy that came to Employment Committee last year at some point. And I will plan to have an action plan update for that for September as well. So this will be subject to change, unfortunately.
That seems logical and rational to me. So is the committee happy to accept that? I think we need a formal vote, do we, on that sort of thing? No. So we'll take that forward then, if the committee's in agreement. So, as that is the end of our agenda this evening, it was a light agenda and it's a hot day, I will declare the meeting closed. Thank you all for coming here this evening.